And then you have Trump. And last night, something happened that has happened multiple times. He was on a temper tantrum about me, which is fine. He does that often. But he went on and talked about how I kept the police from going into the Capitol on January 6th. Went on and repeated that I didn't do anything to secure the Capitol. Let's be clear. I wasn't in the Capitol on January 6th. I wasn't in office on January 6th. He mentioned it 3 times. He got confused. He got confused and said he was running against Obama. He never ran against Obama. Don't put our country at risk like this. This is not personal. I have no personal grievances with Donald Trump. It is personal when it comes to my kids. I don't want them living like this.
All right, I guess better late than never. That was Nikki Haley speaking in New Hampshire, calling out Donald Trump's cognitive decline. And in a speech in New Hampshire, you'll recall that Donald Trump short-circuited, and he's been doing this over and over again in his various speeches. We've been covering it here, of course, on the MeidasTouch network, and this is what Nikki Haley was referring to. Play this clip.
If I weren't involved in this, if I were home, boy, look at all the people back there. You got a lot of people. This is supposed to be a quaint little area. This is not quaint at all. They're rough people. This is not quaint. Wow. You know, when she comes here, she gets like 9 people. And the press never reports the crowds, you know. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that. These are very dishonest people. But when I look over here, I'm so honored. They said, this is a quaint area, beautiful area.
Yeah, you hear what Donald Trump was saying there. He was saying that Nikki Haley is somehow responsible for the January 6th insurrection, and Trump offered troops to Nikki Haley, and then Donald Trump just kept on repeating Nikki Haley's name over and over and over again. And you also heard in that clip Nikki Haley making reference to the fact that Donald Trump in his various speeches has consistently been saying that President Obama is still the president. Donald Trump's been saying that it was Jeb Bush who started the war in Iraq. Donald Trump has been saying that he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by a shark. Donald Trump also saying that he was responsible for getting rid of NATO. And I could probably just show you 100 other clips like that, but if you've been watching the MeidasTouch network, you know that. And Nikki Haley didn't just do that once in New Hampshire. This is now a part of her stump speech that she's giving, calling out Donald Trump for his cognitive decline that, again, we've been covering here at the MeidasTouch Network. By the way, hat tip to Asen, our digital editor at MeidasTouch.com. You know how we get those clips out? Asen and our team at MeidasTouch.com are the ones who find those clips. They clip them, they put them on social media, and then they spread like wildfire. If you also want to support the MeidasTouch Network, you can do that at Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Check that out, but I digress. Here's Nikki Haley calling out Donald Trump once more for his cognitive decline. Play the clip.
Last night, Trump is at a rally, and he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't take security during the Capitol riots. Why I didn't handle January 6th better. I wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused, that he was talking about something else. He was talking about Nancy Pelosi. He mentioned me multiple times in that scenario. The concern I have is I'm not saying anything derogatory, but when you're dealing with the pressures of a presidency, we can't have someone else that we question whether they're mentally fit to do this. We can't.
Show you some of the other things that Nikki Haley is referencing. This is when Donald Trump said that Obama was the president. Play the clip.
The head of Hungary, a very tough, strong guy, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of him? Probably considered very powerful within his country and outside of his country. Not exactly loved by some of the European nations because he does his thing. He didn't allow millions of people to invade his country. He allowed nobody to invade. Zero. He had nobody. So he doesn't have crime, and he doesn't have the problems that they're having in other countries where millions of people are allowed to go in. But they were interviewing him 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding and imploding. And he said, it's very simple. He should immediately resign, and they should replace him with President Trump, who kept the world safe. And I'm not just talking the United States. China respected him. Russia respected him. North Korea respected him. And he used another word other than respect, he said fear. But I don't want to use that word.
This is when Donald Trump said that Jeb Bush started the war in Iraq. Play the clip.
It's less than 4 months before the season starts. We start in Iowa, we go to New Hampshire, we come down here. The beauty was when I came here, everyone thought Bush was going to win. And then they took a poll and they found out Trump was up by about 50 points. Everyone said, what's going on right here? They thought Bush, because Bush supposedly was a military person. Great. You know what he was a military? He got us into the Middle East. How did that work out, right? But they all thought that Bush might win. Jeb. Remember Jeb? He used the word Jeb. He didn't use the word Bush. I said, you mean he's ashamed of the last name? And then they immediately started using the name Bush. Never forget it.
This is when Donald Trump said he would rather be electrocuted than eaten by a shark. Play the clip.
But if I'm sitting down and that boat's going down and I'm on top of a battery and the water starts flooding in, I'm getting concerned. But then I look 10 yards to my left and there's a shark over there. So I have a choice of electrocution or shark. You know what I'm going to take? Electrocution. I will take electrocution every single time. Do we agree? I will take electrocution.
What you feed your dog is just as important as what you put in your own body. It's time for real, good food backed by science. That's Num Num. Num Num delivers freshly made dog food with every portion personalized to your dog's needs, so you can bring out their best. Num Num's made with real wholesome ingredients you can see and recognize, without any additives or fillers that contribute to bloating and low energy. That's because Num Num uses the latest science and insights to make real, good food for dogs. Their nutrient-packed recipes are designed by board-certified veterinarian nutritionists, freshly made and shipped free to your door. Num Num's already delivered over 40 million meals to good dogs like yours, inspiring millions of clean bowls and tail wags. Don't settle when it comes to your dog's health. Switch to real, gently cooked dog food with ingredients you can actually see. Nutrient-packed recipes designed by board-certified veterinarian nutritionists, freshly made and delivered to your door. Now, I feel so much better knowing that I'm giving my dog better nutrition, and my doggo really loves it too. Plus, Num Num comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Num Num will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Num Num. Go right now for 50% off your no-risk 2-week trial at trynum.com/Meidas. Spelled try, NOM.com/Meidas for 50% off. trynum.com/Meidas.
Here's where Donald Trump said that he was responsible for getting rid of NATO. Play the clip.
I changed a lot of those deals where it was a bad deal for us. Now it's a good, like USMCA with NATO. I got rid of NATO and built USMCA.
And by the way, if you even want to know, I suppose, what Donald Trump was trying to say when he had that serious cognitive moment that you just saw, he posted the next day on his social media platform the following, and this is one of his unhinged conspiracies. I don't know, perhaps his unhinged conspiracy is even worse than the cognitive moment that he had, because what Trump has often repeated is that he claims he gave 10,000 troops to Nancy Pelosi, and that the January 6th insurrection is Nancy Pelosi's fault for not accepting the troops that Donald Trump gave her, which is 100% false. And I'm going to demonstrate by showing you an interview with Donald Trump's former acting defense secretary, Chris Miller. that it is 100% false. But here's what Donald Trump posted after that cognitive episode. He wanted to, I guess, lean in further on this line right here. He goes, report, Nancy Pelosi was responsible for security. She should not have turned down the 10,000 soldiers, but Donald Trump spells it soldiers, offered by President Trump days before January 6th. Also, January 6th, Unselect Committee of Political Hack and Thugs should not have deleted and destroyed evidence and findings of their committee. What they did is illegal, a crime. That's one of Trump's other conspiracies. He says the January 6th committee destroyed all of their records. By the way, you can go and Google the records. One, they put out a report. Two, they've archived their interviews. Three, we know from special counsel Jack Smith's filings, he's turned over millions of documents. And Donald Trump, I guess, tried to advance this conspiracy before federal judge Tanya Chutkan, and she shot it down because it was absolutely absurd. And here when Donald Trump says that he offered 10,000 soldiers to Nancy Pelosi, at the same time, Donald Trump says that January 6th was peaceful and patriotic. At the same time, Donald Trump says that it was the feds who caused it. And at the same time, he says he wants to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists and sing songs with them. And he makes songs like a song called the January 6th Choir that Donald Trump has copyrighted and sells with the January 6th insurrectionists. So he wants to pardon the feds. The feds were peaceful and patriotic. It was peaceful and patriotic, but he offered 10,000 troops, so it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. I mean, folks, everything he says are all lies, and none of it even makes sense. They're all internal. They're the worst, like they're just the dumbest lies too. Let's just go out and say. And here's the thing: if there was 10,000 troops that were offered and Nancy Pelosi turned it down, I would report on that. But I care about the facts, and I know you care about the facts. And so when someone does a big lie, I mean, I guess you would think, right, the way most people would think, it's like, well, some of that must be true. Who would just make up 10,000 troops and just lie about that? Were there some troops? I mean, what? All a lie. All a lie. And not only that, but Donald Trump had people like Mark Meadows and others who went on Hannity and Fox, and they would just say all of these lies. Yeah, 10,000 troops. But when they were under oath, they said something very different. Here was the January 6th committee under oath interview with Donald Trump's acting Secretary of Defense on the insurrection, Chris Miller, who says, no, we never got any 10,000 troop or 20,000 troop or any troop order from Donald Trump at all. None. That never happened. False. Lie. This is Donald Trump's acting Secretary of Defense. Play this clip.
Just want to be clear here that since then, in February of 2021, Mark Meadows said on Fox News that, quote, even in January, that was a given. As many as 10,000 National Guard troops were told to be on the ready by the Secretary of Defense. Is there any accuracy to that statement?
I'm not from my perspective. I was never given any direction or order or knew of any plans of that nature. So I was surprised by seeing that publicly, but I don't know the context or even where it was. No, there was no. We obviously had plans for activating more folks, but that was not anything more than contingency planning. There was no official message traffic or anything of that nature regarding.
So just so we're clear, you did not have 10,000 troops, quote, to be on the ready for January 6th, prior to January 6th.
A non-military person probably could have some sort of weird interpretation, but no, to answer your question, no, that was not part of my plan or the Department of Defense's plan.
And just that the rest of his statement was, quote, that was a direct order from President Trump, and yet here is what we see, all kinds of blame going around, but not a whole lot of accountability. And to be crystal clear, there was no direct order from President Trump to put 10,000 troops to be on the ready for January 6th, correct?
No. That's correct. There was no order from the president.
And that's why I want to play for you the audio, because like I just don't get if you're like a MAGA supporter and somebody lies to you like that, just freaking lies to you and treats you like you're stupid and crap. And then you hear the audio that I just showed you from Donald Trump's acting defense secretary, and you're like, well, I guess Trump's still right. Even when you hear it with your own ears, and you know you can hear what Trump's people saying. By the way, Chris Miller was Donald Trump's acting Secretary of Defense. Can I show you what Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, recently said about Donald Trump? And he was asked if Donald Trump poses a threat to our democracy. And Esper, Donald Trump's own defense secretary, says Donald Trump poses a threat to our country. Trump's own guy, not just his own guy, his Secretary of Defense. Play the clip.
3 years after the attack on the Capitol, I'm just curious, Mr. Secretary, do you view Donald Trump as a threat to American democracy?
Well, first of all, good to be with you, Jim. It is a tragic day in our nation's history. And yes, I do regard him as a threat to democracy. Democracy as we know it, our institutions, our political culture, all those things that make America great and have defined us as, the oldest democracy on this planet.
Well, folks, I am glad that, that people are calling Donald Trump out and recognizing these serious cognitive issues that he is having and how dangerous he is, and that when he goes and attacks President Biden, it's all with all MAGA. It's projection and confession. Why do you think Donald Trump's not doing these debates? And by the way, I question if Donald Trump will ever do any debates, because you see what happens when he actually speaks now. That's what and from watching the MeidasTouch Network, that's why we cover all this every day, because we want to flag what's going on as well. Anyway, hit subscribe. We're almost on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch and have a great day.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.